So the origin of anime that have settings that take place in video games, as far as I know, all originate from dot hack. Now we've seen it done many times throughout media in stuff like Log Horizon, Sword Art Online, Shangri-La Frontier, and many, many more. But from what I can remember, it all stems back from this series called Dot Hack. And from what I can remember, Konami always advertised it as, if you die in this game, you die in real life.
What happens when a game becomes real and none of the rules apply? For a young sorcerer named Tsukasa, the virtual world of the game has become his reality.
Where am I?
Inside, Tsukasa can fight, make friends, feel pain.
Tsukasa.
The only thing he can't do is log out. Enter the world of Dot Hack Slime, premiering Saturday, February 1st at 3.
Let me go!
Take the game, not the player.
Why me?
Only Toonami.
But it was never really quite that simple. In fact, it was quite complicated. Dot Hack is a game, or Dot Hack is a fictional game in this anime slash manga, or in this setting, that takes place in a game called The World. It is a full dive MMORPG that boasts countless players and all sorts of player freedom. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today, because while I do enjoy Dot Hack, it's got a very convoluted story that can be frustrating to follow sometimes. At a certain point in time, this anime actually did get made into a real game. Several games actually, and they were all on the PlayStation 2. I think there might have been a PlayStation 1 game, but the ones that everybody know for sure are all PlayStation 2 games. Now, I mention this because there's a feature or a function in this that only exists in this series and has never been done outside of it, which is a little bit unfortunate because I think that it's one of the coolest things about this game, this franchise, this series, and it's something that I think other games could really expand upon and make proper use of. It's not anything particularly major. All in all, it's a pretty standard hack and slash sort of game, a little on the clunky side given its age. But the feature that I'm talking about is the method that you use to travel around worlds. You see, in Dot Hack, in order to get from place to place, you have to go to a thing called a gate. It's basically a teleporter. And you use keywords to get around. Every location is tied to a certain string of words. These keywords dictate the field area, the monsters that you'll encounter, and other various modifiers. But again, because of the limitations of the time and just the way that the setting works, you're limited by only being able to string together 3 keywords to do all of this. But it's still an incredibly interesting idea. One of the ways that you could expand upon this is by adding an additional word, or maybe even a few of them, in order to add more things that you can change. So instead of just the field, the monster types, and maybe the weather or the time of day, you could have things like elemental monsters or environmental hazards, something to affect the attributes of whatever spawns there. You could also affect how many of something spawns, how many friendly creatures versus enemy creatures, or maybe modify the type of enemies that spawn from primarily being a mix of small to medium to being more medium or large. The other thing that I think is incredibly interesting is the way that you go about acquiring these keywords. You see, in the world of Dot Hack, you're not just going up to these things and typing in random words. You're actually acquiring them like items and putting them in like a word encyclopedia. The more words that you get, the more combinations that you can try to see what changes between, the different environments and the combinations that you use to make them. I think that that's really neat because we live in an age where information about video games is always easily available, so there's no real sense of discovery amongst players. And even if there is, it never really lasts for very long because of how easy it is to share that information. In a world where live service games are taking over the market and don't really show any plans on slowing down despite their constant failures, this is an idea that nobody's really thinking about, because while you might not necessarily want to procedurally generate what the words affect, you can procedurally generate other aspects about it, like the map's layout, for example. That being said, as you add in more content, you can attach that content to more keywords and then leak them to the player in various ways so that they can add them to the list of combinations for them all to try out. Now, those combinations might not immediately do anything, but through the power of patching and shutting the hell up, you can actually keep a pretty good sense of discovery, and you'll have an experience that players will be happy to talk about for a long time to come. It might not be that way at first, but over time I'm sure that you can sprinkle in enough interesting content that it becomes more of a treasure hunt for the players to go through, because that's kind of what it was in Dot Hack. It was very interesting to take a bunch of different words and see what the difference was. See if you could get any rare items or any rare monsters to spawn. And then you could take that information and share it to other people, and they could go try it for themselves. Just an idea I had. I think talking about various mechanics that we'd like to see in more games is a very constructive conversation to have, especially considering that a lot of people are getting sick and tired of the constant stream of overused mechanics, sick of Souls-like games, sick of your clones of things that have already been established, beating the dead horse as it was. If you have any unused game mechanics that you'd like to see in more games, please leave a comment down below, because I'd love to hear about them and talk more about some other interesting things that games could do to stand apart from others like them. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video.